Hi, I'm Richard Barron, the Director of Registration and Elections for Fulton County. Our website is fultoncountyelections.com. You can find out where to vote early. We want you to vote early. If you want to vote on election day, know before you go to our website, and also go to the poll locator to find your polling site. There's also the Secretary of State's website where you can go to their My Voter page. Our phone number is 404-612-7020, and I'm watching People TV.
Hello, I'm Maynard Eaton, and this is the Georgia Power Show in concert with People TV. Our guest is the presumptive nominee for the Green Party, Ms. Jill Stein. No, I should say Dr. Jill Stein. And thank you for being here in Atlanta. Thank you for being on our show.
It's really great to be with you, Maynard. Call me Jill.
Give us a sense of why you're here in Georgia now. You're just a few signatures shy of getting on the ballot, is that correct?
Well, we got a ways to go. We got a few thousand to collect, actually. So I encourage anybody out there who's listening to get in touch with the Georgia Green Party. But yes, this will be a historic first for Georgia. We actually went to court in order to bring down the signature requirement, which used to be an impossible 50,000 with all kinds of restrictions on top of each signature. And we've brought that down now to 7,500 for the first time. So really for the first time, we want to give Georgia voters a chance to be able to really have more choices and more voices at a time that people are really clamoring for something different from kind of this system that seems to be throwing everyday people under the bus.
Will that mean, with your name on the ballot, that means there are three candidates that you can choose from in this race, and is that going to be tough to do?
Well, in fact, there's probably going to be four.
Four, that's right.
Yes, because there's also a libertarian.
Yes. Gary Lindemann.
Gary Johnson, in fact, yes. In fact, we just ran into his team up at the Secretary of State's office. They were turning in their electors like we were turning in ours. It's just part of the hoops you have to jump through in order to participate in our political process. I mean, I think this is what voters are actually screaming for. And in fact, to look at the polls, you see that people are not happy with the choices. These are the two most disliked and most untrusted candidates in history ever since we've been taking polls. And at the same time, a majority of voters is saying, hey, we want someone else. We don't think these candidates are coming to office with the kind of trust and the kind of just experience that we can believe in. We want some other choices.
Now, as you're well aware, those who support you say that. Critics might say, well, how can there be a first women president, female president, if a third party or fourth party gets in the race and dissolves or dilutes the voting totals? Have you heard that too? How do you deal with that criticism or complaint?
You know, I think you're bringing up really the elephant in the room. Yeah. This is the real question here about whether we stay with the system or do we take the risks of building our power in order to change the system? Because, at the time of abolition, the abolition of slavery, yes. First it was a social movement, but then it became a political cause as well. And there were actually political parties that took up the cause of abolition. It started with first the Free Soil Party, which was about preventing slavery from spreading to the new states. And then it became the Liberty Party, which was not just the new states. How about all of us? How about the whole country? Because this is a fundamental moral issue. And eventually the Republican Party came along as a new independent third party. And you know what people called them? They called them spoilers. Spoilers because they were going to upset the system and risk getting an outcome that people didn't want. So, I think it's really clear we're kind of at another crisis right now because we don't have the jobs, because we've got this expanding prison system, this racist war on drugs, the issue of police violence and economic violence, and the hardships that are falling on everyday people, but especially on communities of color. It's a really good time for us to say, is this the kind of world we want? And in this election, it's the issues of racial and economic justice, which are just, kind of exploding on everybody. We don't have the jobs, we don't have the wages. We have a generation of young people who are locked in student debt and who can't get out of it. So in many ways, we're not only deciding what kind of a world we'll be, but whether we will be a world at all, given we've also got a climate crisis, which has exploded. Even when there was a Democrat in the White House and 2 Democratic houses of Congress, we still got basically this terrible climate policy that has massively accelerated that crisis, which hits people of color the hardest. Witness what happened with Katrina and New Orleans.
Jill, you say you're a physician and not a politician. Cute line, but does that mean you also have the remedy for what ails us in this country?
Exactly, and let the healing begin, because we need a lot of it.
Can you fix some of the problems we're facing now, some of the dissension we're having, racially and economically?
I do believe we can, absolutely, and I think it's really important. Democracy needs a moral compass, and in my view, that's another reason why the lesser evil is not the answer. The evil is not, whether it's greater or lesser, that's not the compass that democracy needs. Democracy needs voices and choices, but it needs values above all. And I think, we really need a political party that is not, what shall we say, under the influence of the big money, whether it's the big banks that redlined, the communities of color, that issued the predatory mortgages that have been devastating to the community of color, who's been economically hurt hardest and who have not recovered. We need we need not only an economic program, we need a climate program, and these things can be solved. We could provide, for example, health care as a human right for everyone. We could cancel student debt. They did it for the bankers.
How would you do that?
The same way they did it for the crooks on Wall Street, who crashed the economy, with their waste, fraud, and abuse.
So it can be done, you're saying?
It can be, it has a fancy name. It's called quantitative easing. It's something that the Federal Reserve has the power to do. And you know who appoints the chair of the Federal Reserve? The president does. And, talking about power, the theme of this show, I want everybody out there to know that if you take the people who are holding student debt right now, it's not just millennials, it's people well into middle age that are trapped in student loan debt.
I just got rid of mine. I just got rid of mine years ago.